And we're back with another episode of the Horns Down podcast. It's been a while, y'all, but we're back. I'm here with my guy Jay from Unfair Sports. Jay, what's up, man? Tell everybody where they can find you at.
What's good, everybody? Jay with Unfair Sports. Just search that in YouTube, as well as whatever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Kchris, good to be back on the show, especially after a dub.
Yeah, for sure. It feels good. We haven't been able to say that in the past couple of weeks, but we're back and we're going to recap that show. We got some people that's going to fall in, probably JP, PG. They should pop in here as well. But let's just go ahead and get to it, man. Last night, first quarter, I think we should just stop there because there's
Stop the count.
There's more parts to this game, but as far as what you saw in the first quarter, go ahead, tell us what's up,
man. That first quarter was the best on both sides of the ball that we played since Nebraska.
Yeah.
We had the offensive set, and even in Nebraska, we gave up a touchdown the first drive. But after that, the defense locked down to where we gave up 10 points in that game. Mm-hmm. So that was probably the best both sides of the ball that we played since then. Everybody was executing. The defense was getting tackles. We were getting turnovers. We were forcing punts. It looked like everything clicked at that moment on the defensive side, because offensively we have those moments where we just go on a whole bunch of spurts and every play call we called was not matched, and we would just go score really quick. The offense continued to move at a lightning pace. I think our longest drive was like 2 minutes and like 40 something seconds in the first half, and so we did everything that we were supposed to do. That was what was good, is we executed across the board. The line was blocking. The defensive line was getting penetration and disrupting the quarterback. The linebackers were in the right spots. We were getting our hands on the ball. We was getting tackles for a loss. Everything in the foundation of the way that we want this team to play showed in that first quarter, and I was beyond proud, sitting in the bar screaming and hooting and hollering the whole time.
No, I mean, I felt the same way. I mean, just to be specific, man. First quarter, and we'll get to later what a lot of people want us to talk about as well with Levy. But first quarter, Levy was lights out. He put a lot of stress on those corners. Those OSU corners were on an island. Obviously Ty. Shout out to Ty from Around the Table Sports, but Ty was in the group chat going crazy about the wheel routes and the different concepts you were seeing. That Drake Stoops, of all people, yes, Texas fans, Drake Stoops, the guy that I always say is better than Jordan Whittington. Drake Stoops showed up and showed out in that first quarter. Made some great catches, and I mean, hell, that wheel was perfectly run. But you put a lot of stress on those corners and leave them out there on an island. Safety is, you're putting him at a disadvantage because he's not really sure. Okay, what action am I seeing, right? And Dylan Gabriel is about as accurate as we've seen him all year on some of those balls. And so, I mean, if that's the Dylan Gabriel that we can get consistently, talked to my uncle this morning and he was saying, look, he thinks that Dylan Gabriel's not consistent each quarter. Will we ever be able to get that out of him? You don't know yet, right? Got to wait for next year. But as far as now, that first quarter, he was lights out. That's the Dylan Gabriel that we thought we would see game in and game out. But I think I think it's fair to say that the announcers were right, about what BV and all them were saying. He hasn't necessarily lost us a game, but we need him to go out there and win us a game, right? And that first quarter, man, you were able to see the offense actually, that payoff that I've always been talking about. I talk about every single week. The offense finally paid off, and showed up, right? Defensively, hey, man, that's probably the best the linebacker core has played this year, man. I mean, literally, people are flying all around the field. You're seeing the blitzes. We actually had a decent pass rush last night. We got home. We got 6 sacks last night in that game. And then you're looking at a guy like Billy Bowman. I mean, that interception that he had, I mean, it really just stood out. Like, that was, if not the play of the game, then one of the plays of the game.
That was what, second? When was that? Was that first half?
You said what?
That was first half,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was because Deshaun White was the last interception. I was trying to remember whose interception was last.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, and I mean, like it just was a work of art to finally see that that defense work like that it can, right? Stutzman was out there making plays. You even saw Ethan Downs and Grimes get involved in the plays. You saw them line up on like the slot back, as a decoy. Just kind of it was crazy. You saw the peel backs with the gosh, I can't say his name, but the kid from the transfer from Hawaii. You saw a lot.
Jonah Lualu. Yeah.
You saw a lot of activity out there that you haven't seen this year. It looks like Deshaun White is a different player. He finally gets that cheater role. And you're like, okay, year 2, do we want to see year 2 of this, or do we want to see Kchris step into that role and see what he can do, right? So, I mean, you're just really excited about what you saw last night in the prospects, because that if you could carry that over to next year, or hell, let's not even talk about next year right now. Carry this over to Texas Tech and then the bowl game, and I promise you will be fine.
Yeah, on that, and then that Lualu interception off the tip was fantastic. And so I kind of talked about this in my early morning after video I did on my channel. And it was good, JP. Good to see you in here. Give me a minute and you can get your intros in as well. But the one thing I've talked about over the last few weeks, and Kchris, I know you've heard me say this a lot, is that if you pay attention to the way the team is played, foundation-wise, when they're on just the baseline stuff that we want to see happen, they're doing it, and they're executing on it. Defensively especially, we had 13 tackles for a loss in this game. Absurd numbers. And that's something that is the foundation of the defense that Brent Venables has done, especially at Clemson. He was one of the tops in the country the entire time that he was at Clemson as the DC with tackles for a loss. So it was all about getting that, but getting it at the right time, like getting them on third down. Like one of the things we struggled with is stopping on third down and fourth down. Oklahoma State was 0-2 on fourth down. They were 7 for 22 on third. So we executed at the foundation level that we wanted out of this team. They were stopping that. They were forcing Spencer Sanders to scramble and move around the pocket like he didn't want to. When he'd step up, we'd hit him in his chest. All of that stuff we've seen all year. The problem we had was when it came to third down, people were always out of place. And in this game, it looked like it clicked, and we started to see people get into their spot. So as you made mention of, it'll be great to see it go over next week. Honestly, I don't care about Texas Tech at this point. Honestly, I don't even care about the bowl game. If this foundation just maintains, win or lose on those games, and it goes into next season, we'll have a top 10 defense. That's the type of defense you want. If you can keep getting those tackles for the loss and forcing a bunch of punts, we'll have an elite defense next year. At least top 15. And that's to me is the thing that you want to push for. Is making sure that this foundation maintains. So JP, what's good, man?
What's up, y'all? What's up? Sorry, I was just getting back from a little lunch, so I'm down here in Norman. So was at the game last night. Was a good time. So I'm sure y'all have recapped it already a little bit, but thanks for having me again.
JP, what were your thoughts about? We kind of recapped the first quarter, how great that was just for the overall game. What did you see out there that you think that we can improve on? I mean, besides clock management, right?
Yeah. It's interesting offensively. And I was having this, I don't want to say argument, discussion with somebody last night. I did disagree with some of the stuff Jeff Lebby did from a clock management perspective, but I really think we have a lot of too many armchair coaches that want to think that they know football and say, well, why didn't you just run here? Why it just seems so simple. And I think sometimes football is simple, but other times, there are times where, you try to set up something and do a counter, right? And I think Jeff tried to do that a couple of times last night where, we're running the ball and we're running it, we started to get a little bit sloppy, in the second half in terms of some of our offensive line schemes. Couldn't block it up necessarily correctly, couldn't break tackles like we had seen a couple of times. And so, We tried the play action thing. Oklahoma State read it perfectly a couple times. You had Jalil Farouk, who had, after the first catch in the first quarter, had for whatever reason the yips, just dropping balls left and right, right, even on simple screen passes, ruining the whole rhythm of the offense. If he catches that and he gets 5, 6 yards, 7 yards, maybe people aren't complaining. Maybe we have, things that are going. Obviously, you have Braden Willis fumbling, and for as much as I didn't think Jeff did an amazing job.
I think he froze.
We froze him up. To go on what JP is saying,
I saw a tweet yesterday that said, good execution can make up for bad play calling, but good play calling can't make up for bad execution. And so no matter what plays you call, if the players don't execute the plays, it's going to make you look like you don't know what you're calling as a coach. And I think that by and large, besides if you want to throw out Texas as the aberration, by and large, Jeff has done an amazing job. I mean, he really threw Iowa State's defense off when we were up there in Ames. He did. Go ahead.
Let me jump on what you kind of mentioned there about the Levy and the armchair quarterbacks and coaches that we have as far as fans and stuff go. But you're right. Football at its essence is pretty simple. I mean, it's stop their quarterback and protect yours. That's really what you're doing the entire game. And with the play calls, that the lines protecting, and then of course the rush. But my problem that I've had with fans in regards to Levy's play call is exactly what you just said, is that the expectation is that, oh, you call the right play, it's always going to work, as if the other side isn't scheming and preparing. Like, it's not that even that they're reading your plays. Sometimes you can read plays, but a lot of the time the problem is that the players aren't executing their part of it. Like in that first half, the line was doing what they're supposed to do. They were making holes. They were protecting Gabriel, and he had a little bit of time to get those passes going, and our offense was flowing. That hurry up offense puts up points for a reason. It puts up points to put pressure on the other team and force them to pass the entire time. That way that 3-3-5 defense can actually work. Work the way it's supposed to. Because if you play against a team that can run, the 3-3-5 is terrible. Just go ask Cincinnati the way that what happened to them against Alabama in the playoff. Their defense was built for passes. They couldn't score fast enough to force Alabama to only pass the ball. So Brian Robinson just ran down their throat. Our defense is the exact same way, similar to what Clemson was doing. You want teams to pass on you because then you have elite secondary to stop them. We ain't got that yet. We're going to get there eventually. We got to remember that he's calling the right plays. It's just you have two choices, and this is be my last statement on this. We can either play to not lose or play to win. If we play to not lose, that means we're going to stop and try to run a lot of clock and hope that we don't turn the ball over. If we're going to play to win, we're going to keep our hurry up offense and keep trying to score, which is going to happen. What's going to happen there? Either we score fast or we go into 3 and out fast.
Now, Jay,
that's just the life. That's the game.
I got to jump in here and I got to say this right here. Running the ball, we were successful at that last night. We won a lot of the one-on-one battles, in my opinion. It's just the fact that the play calling got a little bit cute, just like it did on the defensive side of the ball. Okay.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know. And the only reason why I say that is you're right. We were successful on the run, but this is the problem we've had all year. We get so successful on the run, we still have 2-minute drives. It don't matter. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like none of our running plays actually kill clock because we'll get 10, 12 yards in a run, or we'll get stopped back-to-back times at 1 and 2 yards, try to get a pass in there, and it doesn't work. So that's kind of where you run into a catch-22. I'm not saying that you're wrong. Yeah. I'm saying that that's where you run into this big conundrum with our entire offense.
But here's my thing. Coming into the season, we all said that's what Levy wants to do. He wants to get up quick, then he wants to pound that ball, run the ball. And you can do that. The problem is that I think everybody has, and let's just say what it is that you're up big, you're up in that game, you're not draining clock at all. You're going at 18. I mean, hell, you're punting it. You're having a punter snap it. Turk is getting the ball in his hands around 18 seconds on the game clock. Like we look, that was a problem that I know some Texas fans talked about. Shout out to Nick and Steven. But at the same time, I don't think I think it's something that we're just gonna. It's an ebb and flow. It's something that's just gonna have to work itself out.
Yeah.
When BV and Levy kind of find that meshing point that works as far as like, hey, look, I'm fine with going fast, but let's kind of get some tempo in there, but let's also be able to be patient and kind of win the time of possession game as well, because we can score with the best of them, but what happens when we don't, right? And
no, you're right.
Yeah, our defense won us the game last night, to be real with you. I mean, by
Straight
far.
up.
And you wanted that. And you wanted that.
Flipping to the other side, what I would say as well with Ruth, my only problem was one, it was like we had no spy in the middle for him whenever he wanted to, whenever Sanders wanted to just run up the middle, right, when he's scrambling. We didn't really set, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to set the edge whenever you're going at those angles to try to crash inside, but at the same time, that 3-3-5, I mean, it was killing us. That's the only reason why they scored, in my opinion. That is the only reason why they scored. If we would have said our man defense was better than our zone last night, I'm just going to be honest with you.
That is true.
Our man defense was way better. When we ran 4 down linemen, our man defense, for some odd reason, our secondary held up. Our secondary was able to create a lot of great turnovers, obviously. But at the same time, the zone worked whenever we got it. When they were going in and it looked like they were about to score, the zone worked tremendously on those plays. But on the other times, whenever they were starting at their 30 or 20 or whatever yard line they were starting in on our side of the field, it's like our man defense was just lights out against them. And then we started running at 3-3-5, and you start seeing some of the problems. You start seeing pop a couple of runs and some of those slant routes for those younger yards.
Question. Were we actually running 4 down, or were we having the Cheetah play as an edge rusher? Because it looked like to me we kept running mainly the 3-3-5 the entire time, and we just kept bringing more people to the line of scrimmage.
It looked in spurts, because they started running that 3-3-5 pretty heavy, especially in the second half. In my opinion.
It felt like I was more man at that point too. I think it was the bigger play, and you're right. We weren't spying perfectly, but we did really good on the spy. We kept Spencer from really going anywhere. He couldn't move.
I think the difference next game, watch it and just kind of see the different packages, because
I'm gonna go back and rewatch the game tonight. I want to look.
You have Jeffrey Johnson and Kelly coming out there, and that's your 4-man lineman right there with Kelly, Cole. Who else did I just name?
Jeffrey Johnson. Yeah,
you got Grimes, Ethan Downs, all the rest of them. So I mean, you were able to kind of disguise a lot of different things, because you had Ethan Downs, R. Mason Thomas, even Grimes,
and Lualu, because he kept dropping back into coverage.
Exactly. You had them basically lining up against the slot receiver, and you're just like, oh, what the heck, And then you had Agwebu, Billy was coming up around the line as well. So yeah, I mean, you saw a lot of those different things. They disguised it really well, especially in that first quarter, that first half. It's like they knew every play they were running. A lot of those, like, hey, let's just pick stuff up underneath. It was like, no, you're going to have to work that ball down the field, because we're going to pick up all this intermediary stuff.
It felt like the reason why I say it felt like the Nebraska game is that we beat them really with athleticism. Everybody was doing their job. Everybody was covering their spots, and we just kept doing a whole bunch of freakish stuff. The blitzes was working. The complex packages was working. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. And it's just weird to me that this is not something that we could do consistently between Nebraska and now. Like, I just don't understand how in between there it just kept falling apart. Were we just being cocky? Was Oklahoma State really just bad? I mean, I know in the trenches we were beating their tail. We were destroying their offensive line, even though Oklahoma State is 7-3, 7-4. I don't understand how. I'm still trying to figure out how in between Nebraska and here, all of that disappeared.
We shot ourselves in the foot. JP, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know what was said. I was telling Trav last night. I was like, I don't know what was said to the defensive line, but we were getting pressure with 3.
Yeah,
right. That's what I'm saying. We were beating up their line. Like the angles they were taking, it just felt like I don't know what it was. The angles they were taking, they were getting back there and forcing Sanders to move up. I just don't get in between those weeks.
Ice last night. He was looked like 2020. Like it looked like
Yeah.
20. Like he was running. He was not. I don't want to say scared because 2020 he got scared. He's more mature now, but he was just running for his life. He hardly had time, and the plays that he did make, and to Chris's point on the zone tilt, the big explosive plays they made in the game where it's him rolling to his right and being able to, the zone didn't really roll over too well, and being able to, hit somebody near the sideline. But other than that, I mean, we were in his face constantly, and that led to a lot of the interceptions. He probably should have threw 6. He should.
Yes.
I mean, Danny.
Yeah,
Danny
you got
had
lucky.
One in his hands. Danny had one in his hands. Billy almost had one diving. I mean, it just, the defense. And I get it, Chris. I know we're obviously analyzing in preparation for next year. I ain't got nothing to say about defense, man. I mean, to have 102 plays and to give up 13 points and to come up, I mean, stop after stop after stop every time we needed it. 4th down stops, interceptions, pass breakups, a pass breakup in the end zone that shouldn't have been a defensive pass interference, but it was called that.
Yeah,
right?
There was bad calls out there.
I mean,
a ton of them.
I mean, it was an incredible performance. And I tweeted last night. I'm not saying it makes up for the whole season, but man, I can't think. I can probably think of a couple, but like it has to be up there in the last decade of like defensive performances. Just we needed to get a bowl win, right? We needed to, and I'm talking about Oklahoma, not like in general, obviously, but we needed to get a bowl win. We had a bunch of big time recruits there last night, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We balled out at the exact moment. The atmosphere was crazy. Everybody was going nuts for the defense, and they showed up time and time again. Even with the scoring drives, like they bowled their neck and held them to 3. Like after I mean to be put in that position, 12 punts, 12 punt like. Nobody would. If you would have told us that we're gonna punt the ball 12 times, I'm probably saying we're losing before the game.
Right.
We're gonna go 1 and 13 on 3rd down conversions. I'm like, oh nah, like nah. Especially after I mean, I was at West Virginia last week. So like, if you would have told me the defense playing like this, So all in all, what we've been saying the whole year is Brent didn't just forget how to coach.
Nah, when it works. It works. I don't know how many times we got to say that. Yeah. Earlier yesterday, I was watching Clemson play, and I was just like, damn. Venables is talking about this the entire time. I was like, this is it. I was like, this is what you do when you have those, as Venables will put it, is that you have those guys, but you also have those dominant roughs that just pop up.
Yeah.
It may take them a little while, but when they finally get it, look at what you're doing, right? They're running the same exact thing that OU was running. and the only difference is that they're able to get a more consistent pass rush and just some of the recruits that they have, right?
They got the big boys in the middle. They got those 300-pound defensive tackles that require 2 to 3 dudes to play to block. And they go right through them. That's something that we haven't had. And then even with if we go back to the offensive side, the wide receivers, if we don't drop these passes, that it seems like every receiver we got has a tendency of having yips randomly, wide open catches. That Anton Harrison hold was ridiculous, and Mims made that beautiful catch. It was right there at the spot it needed to be for him to get the first down. We lost that one, but that Farouk drop was big.
Yep.
We see a lot of passes come off their hands because it's right at the spot that it should be, and they just it's. If we didn't drop as many passes, I think that would also help with our moving the chains forward. But I think once we get past this year, we'll probably get another running back that's not going to keep getting 10 yards a run and then getting stopped all the time at like 1 and 2. And also, kind of like you said, Chris, you said this a few times, we can just stop that screen pass stuff. I think we'd be good as well.
Yeah, the East and West plays kill me sometimes on the drives. There was a couple of times where DG just missed wide open and flat. I mean, he had blockers down there. If Eric Gray gets those, we're probably talking about points.
I wish we ran more slants. I wish we could, and I think the problem with the slant plays is that Gabriel's too short. So it's a lot harder on the timing for the receivers to get to the spot they're supposed to be and him to throw it to the right spot.
Yep.
A lot of the players seem like they're more absolute. They're a little bit more binary when it comes to their route running, as in they're trying to go the exact route they're supposed to be, but the timing is always off. The adjustments aren't there to prepare for the ball to be there. They don't think the ball is going to be there when they make that cut. And so if we could do more slants, I think we would be able to eliminate the speed of the possession, or we'll catch it and take it to the yard. It's going to be one of the two, it seems like.
So let me go ahead. JP already kind of talked about it, but it was a great segue. Let's get into some recruiting. But real quick, Hank says they played the multiple variations of the defense and everyone was on the same page. I think it showed last night because you saw a lot. There were some different looks, and he had a lot of stuff disguised out there. It was about as exotic as you've seen that defense go. And look, it takes time, and it's all about the foundation. So, that, like I said, happy about that. And then also, David Whitehead says the defense played good in front of a lot of recruits. Yes, they did. And like I said, that's the segue. So let's get into some recruiting buzz, guys. Just drop some tidbits if you got some or whatever. I think probably the first places we should start are the two crystal balls that we just got about an hour ago from Damian Sanford. Hold on, let's go to Kendall Dolby, kid out of NEO. I think he's a DB. And then also we got Damian Sanford, which is, I think, for a lot of people, kind of a big piece. If that's something that you can get because of for what he can also bring with
2 for 1,
right?
Yeah.
So
buy one get one free.
have you guys heard anything as far as like just what's being said about Hicks, Bowens, any of those kids? I think we all are kind of on the same page about we're trending in the right direction to get those kids to flip from their commitments. But have you guys heard anything solid, or you guys just still out there kind of just feeling, hey, this is what's being said,
JP, what you got?
I'll just tell y'all the confidence is high. Let's just say that. Y'all know I got people that know people, and I'm just saying that I was told we should be very confident. Also,
very like define very confident.
Very confident. And
okay.
I trust these two people with anything when it comes to Sooners football. So barring another, to be honest, David Hicks situation like he did in the first time, right?
right.
Field, I would be very very confident. And I'll say this. So I was talking with the homie Grayson last night after the game, and DJ was walking with Kobe before he came out. McKenzie, he's huge, bro. He is
Hicks?
big. Yes.
Yeah, I saw a picture with him and PG, and yeah, he's ginormous. Like it should be illegal how big the dude really is. Honestly,
are you 17, dog? Like,
right? What is they feeding these kids nowadays?
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, man, I would be pretty confident in both of those guys, Bowen and DJ Hicks. And gotta love that Billy Bowman showed out last night too.
My uncle, he's always in my ear about the fact that, hey, I think Bowens is basically Billy Bowman. He's like he's the same type of player and has those ball hawk skills and all the rest of that.
Honestly, I was thinking more closer to like a Reggie Smith.
Really?
Yeah, long, rangy, fast. Can take pick sixes easily. I don't think Bowman can take pick sixes very fast, very much. Like him jumping that route was to me a big development out of him because it feels like he should be doing that all the time. That's like that Ed Reed type play. Like you should be baiting the quarterback to throw the opposite spot and you come right across knowing it's coming there. It doesn't feel like he has that instinct, but I think Peyton Bowen has got that Reggie Smith in him. And Reggie was a monster out there at safety. Like he would come out of nowhere with stuff. You're like, dude, where How did you read that play? And that's what we need. We need guys with instincts when it comes to that. I did see Brandon Drum threw out there that it was Parker threw out there that Jordan Allen was in town. The Kansas State commit, he showed up as a surprise person, and there's supposedly like a 5-star addition that showed up that no one's been able to confirm or deny yet. I'm waiting to hear about that.
PG, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
PG was there with some
recruits
last night. So
I was. It was a little interesting. It was weird because the Kansas State game, we didn't have as many there. And then like you go down there and you walk through the tunnel and you're standing down there with them, and like there's so many of them that you're looking around. It's like Christmas Day. It's like Christmas morning. It's like, who am I going to go talk to first?
what was the feel? I know you were walking down there. What was the feel that you got from a lot of the recruits? Like some of the, obviously the ones who were solid from day one, but some of the ones that were like, okay, they're on flip watch, or these kids are just in town. Like we didn't even realize these kids were coming. Like what was the feeling and the atmosphere for them like? PG?
So my headphones just disconnected.
Oh, sorry.
No,
No,
what'd you say?
I was saying that like when you walked down there, you just saw them, just interacted with them or whatnot. What was the feel like around them?
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement around and a lot of the conversations that I heard, because I have floating ears. So a lot of the conversations that I heard when I was standing down there was talking about like the vision that Venables has for the defense and understanding and when you talk to other guys, like understanding the importance of them knowing kind of what the outlook of the roster is already going to look like for next year, and understanding where the holes are that they need to fill. And so talking to specifically Heath last night, he specifically talked about how there were 4 to 5 spots that are going to need to be filled on the offensive line. And even though, he's not going to be able to come in till the summer, he still feels like because there is going to be that many spots that need to be turned over, there's a good opportunity to start and good opportunity to come in and make an impact. And, talking and listening, hearing some of the other guys talking down there, like with PJ last night, it's the understanding of that the guys that are here now with Venables aren't necessarily the personnel that he needs to be able to go out there and do this, right? He had to take a bunch of people out of a portal. He had to go take a bunch of people maybe out of a class that aren't necessarily the guys that he would take firsthand. And so as, the next couple of years start to go, you're really going to start to see the vision that he has and has casted for this team and what this team should look like really start to come into play. And so that's like really when you see the excitement of what was going on last night on the defense, that's what they were talking about. And, I mean, anybody watching the game can see that excitement, especially with watching the 4 interceptions and Peyton Bowen. You have to believe that there was some real validity to that because, he's there with his dad and, his family is pushing for him to go to Notre Dame. And so we talked about the Crimson and Cream Collective and how it's, it's not a coincidence that this has happened right before National Signing Day. There's a lot of feeling that like things just kind of came into place last night. And maybe I don't know who called the defense last night, but if Ted Roof called the defense last night, then I don't know why he can't call it like that 24/7 because
that was the same thing. Yeah,
because that was night and day difference from what we've seen all season. But no, it felt like there was a lot of optimism about what could happen in terms of playing time. Obviously, they're going to say we feel really good about this place. We love the atmosphere. Who goes to a visit and then say they don't like the atmosphere, right? I think unless you go to Vanderbilt or something, you're not going to say, oh, I love the atmosphere. So I do take some of it with a grain of salt, but it did seem like everybody was down there having fun. They were partying. David Stone was down there kind because I didn't stay down there the whole time. So I went back up to my seats. And so I'm in 35 and I sit right underneath the press boxes against the concrete wall. So I have direct bird's eye view on top of the recruits. David Stone last night was standing down there with probably 5 or 6 recruits around him the whole time. He's sitting up against the brick wall. He's talking to them, laughing, having fun. And when I see something like that, you know, from a guy like that, that tells me, all right, he's probably coming here. He's putting in the work. You know, he's trying to create an enjoyable experience for everybody, and it's home.
I just feel like, man, at this point with what's going down there at Texas A&M, I just don't know why. I just don't know why this could not be the place. You know, obviously we know NIL deals, different things like that come into play. But I think OU is willing and ready, especially with the collectives and all of that. And from what you've kind of seen over these past few weeks, everybody's starting to kind of chip in more, trying to do more things as far as the NIL route. So I think, I mean, all that you could do is really just kind of wait and see what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a bunch of guys pop up as far as these crystal balls are going. So, I mean, I'm definitely excited about that. One guy I would say, I think PG, you guys were at the game. So one guy that I definitely want to see if you guys saw him, if he was, well, obviously I think he was there, but just what were your impressions of him? The Taylor Wine kid?
Wine, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see him, but I mean, again, there were so many that it's kind of hard to spot people out. Everybody's wearing hoods and everything else. It's usually I can spot people out by the top of their heads. I wasn't able to do that last night.
I saw him walking out with Coach Chavis when I was waiting to talk to Grayson last night. First of all, Miguel is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, he's yoked. Like, he looked like he'd be out there right now. He came out in tank top and some khakis, looked like Captain America. I'm like, what are you doing, dog? But Taylor's walking with him, and he's basically not like just his big, like bulk wise, but tall, long frame. You know, I mean, he looks like, you know, he's not Colton, but you know, I know everybody said he's got the same type of build, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong at all. So, as far as I can tell, I mean, obviously it's not like I eavesdrop on the conversation or anything like that, but it seemed like him and Chambers were really hitting it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys talked about that kid, Etta, that's currently committed to Michigan? I didn't know he was coming, and I saw some people floating that around out there.
Yeah, I heard he was a surprise too.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that was kind of a big surprise. But I think they wanted him at first, but I think it just kind of, and I wouldn't say soured, but it just kind of fell off a little bit. But I know,
statistically had a really good 2022 season, 134 tackles, 35 tackles for loss, 20 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, and 2 of those were for a touchdown. So when you look at him statistically, looks like a pretty solid dude, top 100 player, or should be a top 100 player.
Let's see right here. Sooner Cowboys, he says, elite D linemen, just don't choose OU. Because outside of Gallimore, Winfrey, and Thomas, there hasn't been D linemen getting drafted or developed, but it's a new staff, so they thinking about it. No, I mean, look, the track record for these coaches here is different than what we just had. I mean, or what we had a little bit in the past, to be honest with you. I mean, come on, Venables, Todd Bates, come on, man. I mean, it's interesting because you're looking at Clemson and you're saying, okay, if we go to the transfer portal, I mean, there's a place, right? I mean, if some of those guys ever want to come, because there's guys like let's think USC right now, the Foreman kid. Let's say that Corey Foreman jumped into the portal. Wouldn't OU be kind of the fit because he wanted to play for Clemson, and who was there at Clemson whenever he was being recruited by them?
Right.
Venables and Bates, right? So a lot of guys want to come and play. It's not just, we're giving a look. See, the thing is, it's like we said, we had great recruiters here during the Lincoln Riley era, but now with Venables and Bates and with Levy, I think Levy is going to get into that category as well. We have elite recruiters. And so these guys are not just recruiters, but they're also developers as well. And you've seen, I mean, let's just look at their pedigree, right? So OU is transitioning into that top tier into that tier of teams that's able to say, no, not only are we going to be in their top 5, top 4, top 3, but we're going to get these kids as well. It's only a matter of time. And a lot of these are already solid anyways. It's just a matter of just kind of finishing the deal.
Yeah, so you can look at the guys, especially that he had at Clemson, but when Venables was here at Oklahoma, he got good defensive line guys here too. I think probably one of the more notable ones was RJ Washington back in 06. But I would say I think the biggest troubles and what I want to see with the staff, and I was talking to Ty about this the other day, the biggest troubles that I think we're going to see for the staff in terms of recruiting on the defensive side of the ball is going to be that secondary and getting some of those elite safeties. So, I know that the Valai has a previous relationship with Lester, the 5-star cornerback out of Sarasota, Florida. And then
Sarasota,
and then obviously, they've thrown an offer out to KJ Bolden, the 5-star safety, top 5 player in 2024. That's going to be where I want to see improvement on the recruiting side. I'm not really worried about them being able to get linebackers and defensive line guys. I'm curious to see what they do with cornerbacks and the safeties.
Well, I mean, I'll give you that, but I think at the same time you're comfortable with one, with what's in your room, and then two, what you can do on the trails for those guys in the secondary. I think everybody in here from the chat, and then these two guys over here on to the right of me, I think they would say as well, like, hey, we got to get really good defensive linemen, because as you can see on our edge rushers, PG. I mean, look, I came in here thinking, hey, Grimes is going to have that year. Everybody thought that Ethan Downs was going to be that guy and have that year. It just hasn't panned out. We don't have a really good pass rush, especially off the edge. Interior is where we got our sacks last night, to be quite frank with you. I mean, outside of the linebackers being able to kind of set the edge and still be able to get past the guy and shed the blocks that they were on at the same time, I mean, I just say, like, the interior, like, that's where we really made our money last night. But we got to get some type of rush on that edge, and that's what we're hoping. PJ, the Taylor Wynn kid, when he commits, that's what we're hoping that they can bring instantly. Because outside of R. Mason Thomas, and I say his name again, Jay.
Who?
Kid from Hawaii.
Jonah Laulu.
Laulu.
Outside of those two, I mean, our pass rush hasn't been that great this year. So,
yeah, you're fair. That's fair.
I mean, I think we have good guys at the edge position. I think Ethan Downs. I think R. Mason Thomas is going to be a star.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud.
I think Ethan Downs is still what we expect. One of the things when I was talking to Jonah a couple weeks ago, when I had him on, one of the things he talked about was it wasn't what they expected to have in terms of a year, and he thinks it's specifically because there's a lot of tenured offensive linemen, and they've been around for a while, so it's not like where you would this COVID stuff has really thrown everybody out of the loop.
Yeah.
Because there's so many guys that have been stuck around in programs for a while that, like, it almost makes the team propped up and a little better than what they normally would be. And so, with them, he's like, we get there, but, like, we get there just 1 second too late. And maybe it is like they just have to sit through a whole nother off season with Schmitty and the team here to really get developed and get that strength and conditioning going, so that next season, they have that just extra burst of explosiveness off the line.
Yeah, and I've said this before, like, when it comes to even working out, if you've ever gotten into a training regimen to lose weight or to lift a certain weight and get in, and just working out in general, it takes you about a year to get your body into that mode, into that shape. It takes you a few months to get your body prepared to lift weights. And then it takes you like probably 3 to 6 months to start really increasing your weights. And then another 3 months after that for you to actually start really seeing the results that you're looking for. Like it takes time for the body to shape itself, especially when you're going through like an intense regimen, like what I've heard Schmitty puts them through. So yeah, next year, this team's going to look completely different. I mean, they got Schmitty in January. They're going to be around into January. By the time next summer hits, you'll probably, a lot of them will be done put on at least 20 pounds of muscle. Their bodies have been adjusted to knowing that, hey, I need to grow and gain weight. I need to, whatever they put in me, I need to keep because I need to grow. Their bodies are going to start adjusting to that. And then once you get into the beginning of next season, it'll be a different set of animals coming on the field. So I've tried to explain that to a few people. I studied kinesiology and health studies in college. That's one thing that it takes time for your body to truly adjust itself to those type of regimens. It's not something that just instantly shows up unless you're on steroids. Now, and I know nobody's on the juice on this team. So if we're doing this all natural, which I'm expecting that they're doing, by next summer, y'all gonna be like, how'd this dude get so big? It's like, yeah, it only took him about a year for his body to be prepared for it. Now his body is building itself to be ready to be as big as it needs to be. Defensive line wise, though, we got a lot of people coming back, so that's a good thing. I mean, Reggie Grimes should be back. I don't see him leaving because I don't think that he's going to be high enough in the draft to be worth leaving. We should have some tenure players out there. Grayson Halton, I'm really excited to see what he's going to look like next year. This team's going to look a lot different. And if I'm correct, looking at like even the greats like Clemson and Alabama and Georgia, Ohio State, they don't play very many freshmen on the defensive line unless you walk in as a freak. Like Adebayo has a good chance because I think that by the time next season starts, he'll be like 260, but he'll still be fast. But he's all muscle. So without that extra kind of fat fluff to help with just leaning on people, he may have to not play next season. But most of the time, they don't play freshmen because it takes a year to get you, like I said, through that conditioning system that they want you to be in. So we'll see. But I think Adebayo might have a good chance of playing, and we'll be able to get a really good pass rush going into next year.
Well, and the other thing with the defensive line, I mean, I guess you can say this for the whole defense is they're being put in a completely different new scheme. I mean, from what Grinch is running and what Venables is doing, completely different. And so, like, I think there's just this adjustment period that even though they've, it's the season's almost over, they had a whole off season. It's like they probably need a full year to fully have that switch over to be able to completely 100% understand what they're doing every time they get out. Which I think is a part of it.
You're right, because you're still seeing some of the stunts, the twists and stunts and different things like that into this, basically you see a lot of the players still running a lot of some of the same stuff that we did on the French area, right? But then again, some of that stuff is already built into BV's system, but he's trying to do what is going to help these players out at this point in time until he can actually say, okay, year 2, this is what we're doing, right? So you're ready for I mean, I think a lot of people would say, oh, I'm great that we're going to go to a bowl game. I think a lot of people are happy that we're going to get those 15 extra practices.
Yes.
Then we're going to be able to go into winter ball. Then we're going to be able to go into spring ball, summer ball, fall ball, right? And you're hoping that it starts clicking, right? With the workouts, the strength, the conditioning, all the rest of those things. So that's where a lot of people are at right now with it. Just shifting to back to just kind of recruiting, just without, you don't have to talk about sources or whatever the case may be. Just tell me we'll go down the line. We'll start with you, Jay. Then we'll go JP, and then we'll go PG. Who all do you, just you personally, who all do you expect out of Hicks, Bowens? Obviously, I don't know if the ship has sailed on Yates, guys like that. Who all do you guys see us being able to pull in? Like, who do you think is going to sign on national side in the early signing period at least?
So I think that Taylor Wine's going to end up being here. I mean, he being 6'6", 235, 240, man. Once they put a little meat on him, oh my God, he could potentially be a monster. I think we get Taylor Wine even as a 3-star. I think Kendall Adobe decides to pick here as the JUCO transfer. I'm honestly in the air on Bowen right now. I know that a few people have made mention that it sounds like it's a done deal with them, but I don't trust any of these players that are already committed other places until they sign on the line, which is dotted. It just doesn't feel. I don't feel very confident because it's been too quiet, I guess you could say, which may be a good thing. I do think we do win Hicks and Sanford because it did seem like Hicks had more interest in Oklahoma than he did A&M, and it looks like other things is the reason why he went to A&M. And then with the reports of the coaching staff not reaching out to people, which sounds very much accurate and sounds like something that A&M would do, I could see him deciding that, screw this, let me go pave my own path, let me lead a state and do something big up there. So I think him and Sanford ends up coming. So if anybody, I think it's going to be Wine, Sanford, Ashton Sanders. I think we'll end up winning Sanders out of California, and then Hicks, as well as Dolby, and that'd be about it.
JP?
Yeah, I think we get Hicks. I think we get Peyton Bowen too. As you guys have heard many times, girlfriends are what?
Undefeated.
Undefeated. Okay, so there's that, and the fact that he's visited OU. Really, at this point, almost more times I believe that he's been to Notre Dame. So
It's true.
I may have been to Notre Dame more than him. I live 2.5 hours from Notre Dame. So, but I digress. I think we get him. I think we get Sanford, Wine. I'm not sure on Sanders, though we could end up pulling him off as well. We're out on Yates for sure. I think he's a fully blown LSU at this point, which is all right. And then I am interested to see what happens with Oweta, if that's how you say his last name.
Oweta? Yeah,
Oweta, yeah. I'm interested to see what happens with him. And if we can pull that off. And I do think we're going to get Jackson Arnold too, just in case people are freaking out about that.
That wide receiver, right? The wide receiver.
The wide receiver one?
Yeah, exactly. So here's something that's funny. So he was on air with Parker, Yo Pablo. So I'd actually just missed him because I was out getting lunch with my sister before, and so I pulled up to Yo Pablo, and I was talking with Trav and his family. Travis's mom was doing a little bit of recruiting for the Sooners. She was like, "Hey, you need to stay, and if you're thinking about leaving, just call me, and we'll figure something out." It was so funny. I'm like, all right, Miss Sue, like we'll put you on the dime then. Make sure you get Jackson Arnold to Norman.
PG?
Yeah, so I'm in agreement. I think David Hicks and Peyton Bowen are here. And if we get David Hicks, you get Sanford. They're just a true package deal. Kind of like what Trigg and Dart were in the transfer portal last year. I do think we get Taylor Wine, Oklahoma native. I think it's hard to miss on Wine, Sanders, and Strong. I think all three of those guys are just they're going to be really hard to miss on. Getting Dolby would be big. Now, there are a couple guys that I'm still really keeping my eye on and wondering. First one is Okunawalola. I would say probably 30% there right now. But it sounds like Beatonbo's still trying to get on that one pretty hard. I do want to see what's going to happen with the Etta kid because I hadn't heard anything on that one until last night. And then potentially Ruben Bain, he had that thing with Miami and his recruitment's still pretty wide open. And so, if David Hicks commits to Oklahoma, I would expect there would probably be some other defensive linemen, whether they're committed somewhere else, to potentially start looking at Norman again and saying, might want to potentially reconsider that. If a top 5 player wants to go there, that's on the defensive line. Maybe I should too.
Here's an interesting one right here. So Zoom doof or whatnot. It's still a good question. If Hicks and Bowen come, does that mean that Vasic flips back?
Ooh, no.
No.
Zero chance.
No, this new Texas collective thing that they're doing down there, it's gonna lock up the Westlake school. Texas isn't gonna lose more.
Wasn't there a rumor that there was a Westlake kid at the game? Heard Jaden Greathouse.
Oh, Greathouse.
Yeah, he's currently committed to Notre Dame, though.
Yeah, I heard he was rumored at the game.
Yeah,
I heard that too. I didn't see him. PG, you didn't? Did you?
Mm-mm.
Whoa, Mr. Costner, I don't see that. I think that Clayton's I know. Clayton Smith has played this year, and I think that Clayton Smith is going to get a lot of time next year. I think that with him, it was all about getting his body right? Like they wanted him to just kind of beef up a little bit more, but I think you'll see a lot more of him because I mean, every time that he was out on the field, there was nothing bad that he did, right? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't see that. Yeah.
Do we can we talk about some of the potential seniors that they launched out yesterday on senior night? Because I was pretty confused about that, specifically with the Theo Weiss, because he's a junior and they put him out there for senior night, which would make me believe that they just gave him that opportunity since he's potentially not coming back. Did any of you guys know anything about that one at all? He's a redshirt junior.
Look, I'll be honest.
He is draft eligible.
I have the slightest idea what's going to go down with Theo. I think that he bought into the system. Do I think that he loves his team? Yes, but I think that at the end of the day, at the end of the season, he's going to have to make a business decision for himself because his snaps have been cut, not even in half, but just he's out there on the field. You kind of know what's happening with him. Either he's blocking or he's running like a slant or kind of like a screen route. I mean, like a screen, right? He's catching a screen. I don't know. I have the slightest idea. I'm a huge Theo Weiss fan. I think Theo Weiss could have had a big year. I expected him to do the same thing Farouk was doing this year, to be honest with you. And I know we haven't seen Farouk go off, but I mean, Farouk is a baller. We know that. But at the same time, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what he does in this offseason. I would not be surprised to see him in a different uniform next year, rooting for the kid, whatever he decides to do. But at the same time, I just don't know. It's just like, damn, where's Theo at?
Yeah. Well, and I thought the same thing. You know, he hit the portal and probably most likely destination if Spencer Rattler returns, go to South Carolina and join Shane Beamer and Rattler out there. It just seems like a good destination for him if he hits the portal. But I thought it was interesting because I guess I don't understand how senior night works because I saw several redshirt juniors. One of them was Theo Weiss. The other one was Woody Washington. And so I thought if we're seeing them trotted out there for senior night, is that basically a confirmation they're not coming back?
No. Well, two things. So first off, Eichert and some of the other people doing on the franchise last night, I was listening to that before the game started. They were saying, hey, just because they run out doesn't mean that their eligibility is up. And then secondly, I think you kind of answered your own question earlier in the show when you said, hey, this COVID stuff, that COVID year really messed things up. So a lot of things are in flux. So they are giving them the option to do that, but at the same time, they can always decide to come back, and we'll go for round 2. We'll see.
Well, yeah, I get the actual seniors that have eligibility, right? Whether that's Jaden Knowles or Lau Ulu or those guys, right? Like where they have the extra eligibility. I'm talking about specifically though Theo Weiss and Woody Washington are redshirt juniors. They're not even considered freshmen. So that's why I was considered about that, or not freshmen. They're not even considered seniors. So that's why I was just confused in that whole situation on why we were trotting juniors out there on senior.
Oh, well, I mean, no, they eligibility wise, as far as playing wise, they're juniors, but they're seniors in the classroom. Like they probably graduated.
Technically, yeah, and they can go to the draft this year if they really want to. Like Theo Weiss can go to the draft. He'll probably get drafted late. But he can go in the draft because he's got the size and skill set for it.
So senior night is seniors in the classroom, not seniors on the field.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it doesn't matter about you being a senior on the field. You could be red shirt, junior or whatever. You're a senior. Technically, you're a senior, like classification wise, you're a senior, but they just have you as a red shirt. Yeah. So,
Okay.
but no, yeah, I think with some of those guys, I think you're going to see them. I'm eager to see Colden come back. I'll be honest with you guys. I think you know who Colden reminds me of? Norwood. The reason why I say that is just because for some odd reason he's always around the ball. Like it doesn't matter where it's at. He's making a play. Every time it comes his way, he's making a play. And I think that with a year under his belt, I'm eager to see. But I'll be honest with you. I think next year, I think that your starters at corner are going to be Woody Washington and Gentry Williams. That's just my opinion.
Do you think Woody comes back? Because I think Woody has a potential at the NFL.
From everything that I've heard about this team is that, especially with a lot of the upperclassmen and just from even younger, you're not going to see a mass exodus to the portal, and you're not going to see a lot of guys even really thinking about declaring early, simply because they've just bought in so much that they actually really like this coaching staff, and that the connections there are just really strong. Can that all change like a drop of a dime? Yes, it can. But at the same time, I don't know. I haven't really seen too much from a lot of these kids. I mean, and I think Woody coming back. I think realistically, the only kid that you could see leave would probably be Anton Harrison. I mean, because I think right at this point, I think he's going to get there.
Antoine Harrison's top 25 player in the NFL draft so far.
Yeah, exactly.
The latest projections. But Redmond needs to come back. Redmond has the injury bugs hit him way too much, and I don't think has had enough time on the field to get enough tape out there in front of the NFL scouts. He could have a good, because I know people are saying, well, they could have a good pro day. Well, yeah, but listen, as a defensive line guy, you need a lot more tape than what Redmond's got. He needs more time on the field. So, but I mean, I know for sure draft wise, you've got Mims and Harrison.
Yeah, no, I think that's a decision. I think ultimately most of, I would say 90% of the team comes back, in my opinion. I don't really see too many people bolting off to the NFL or anything like that, because I think that, one, not only do you have something to prove here, but you have something to prove as well with your draft stock. So, I mean, to some guys, maybe it's worth more. I'll take my chances and go undrafted and then try to, go pro so I can start making money now. But with some of these kids, and especially with NIL, I mean, if your draft stock is not that high, then why would you risk going there to go into the NFL, getting cut, having to kind of live that life whenever you can come back and get NIL deals where you know that you're going to get paid and you're going to be able to possibly improve your draft stock, or at the very least, you're not going to hurt yourself, right? And you're
you're right.
Either way.
And
Key Lawrence is only
a junior.
Key Lawrence is a junior. Yeah, he can come back. Yeah, I think he has 2 years left of eligibility.
Yeah, he gets the COVID year and he gets the senior year.
Which I think is what throws a lot of that stuff off when it comes to the senior day stuff, PG, is because there's so many of them have COVID years available. It's kind of hard to tell if they're, graduating and they're going to get their masters. It's kind of tough to actually know if they're going to come back and stay. Honestly, I don't think the team even knows if Theo Weeks is really going to come back or not. I think it's just more so speculation that he potentially is going to probably end up going to the draft.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't said anything definitive. I mean, it's just,
right.
I don't know. When you see his playing time and everything, and then you see the players coming in next year, it's kind of like, do we really see Weiss? And that's what I think he's going to look at, right? Does he see himself really getting that playing time over, a young star in Petaway, or you've got Jaden Gibson that's on the team this year, Nick Anderson, Jalil Farouk's obviously going to be number one. If Drake Stoops comes back, it's going to be a competitive room for sure.
Can Drake come back? Drake another year?
Drake can come back for 1 year.
Yeah, he has that COVID year, just like that one extra COVID year. So technically, he can come back. I know they tweeted out on accident that this was his last home game, but they meant to add of the season. And everybody was jumping all over the OU account for tweeting that. But, yeah, I can totally see it being Weiss, Farouk, and really Jaden Gibson as your lead wide receivers next season. Put the big boy out there.
Guys, we've been on here for about an hour now, so let's go ahead and get everybody's final takes on the game, on the and just recruiting wise. We'll just kind of double down on both of those topics now. So we'll start with you, JP, and then UPG.
Best game we've had since Nebraska. I'm hoping that we can keep that momentum going into next August is really the only thing I care about. We keep that foundation. I promise y'all we'll be a top 15, top 20 defense next season, no problem. Recruiting wise, I'm going to just say expect a top 5 recruiting class this year. Venables and them are doing the work. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're going to execute. So just be excited when you see all those players decide to commit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jay. Last night, I think that first quarter explosion was just reminiscent of the domination that we saw early in the year, and hopefully we can turn that into more consistent performances. Obviously, next year. At this point, we just really want to get bowl eligible. Obviously, you want to win next week in Lubbock, and you want to finish, win your bowl game. Say we can get to 8-5, that's great. Makes you feel good, but regardless of moral victories, just the way the Pilots was last night, it was what we needed to be a night game for a bunch of recruits, who I think, again, a lot of them that were there are going to, I believe, truly end up being Sooners, and it's going to contribute to that top 5 class and lay the foundation for the BV era, which I know some of y'all want to get off that train, but, we'll let y'all hold that. While we over here ascending to the top of college football. So, yep.
PG?
Yeah, so I give the team probably a B overall. That's offense and defense. Defense probably carrying a little bit more of that weight than the offensive side of the ball, especially for missing 3 scores or 3 quarters worth of scores. And then on the recruiting side of it, I'd give it an A. Just in where we feel comfortability wise with having some players join here. I think OU probably ends with 30 guys in this class this year. Top 5 class, probably hanging around the composite score ranking of 300 to 310. Like I said, keep your eyes peeled on what's going to happen with Okunoalola. Definitely still wanting to know what's going to happen with Akana. I actually don't put him in my predictions anymore when I look at the class calculators and things like that, just because I don't feel like that's trending this way anymore, and I might be totally wrong, but I just don't feel really confident anymore in it. But 2024, I think OU could probably put up top 3 class easy. So
with that being said, guys, we'll go back down the line again. Tell them where they can find you guys at.
Yeah,
PG
I'll
the
go.
way.
Y'all can find me on YouTube, Apple, Google, or Spotify. The PG Show, all one word. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of January. I've got a lot of OU player interviews specifically coming up for off season, bowl season. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And as National Signing Day comes up, we're going to be covering recruiting for a bunch of different kids, a bunch of different schools. So we'd love to have you come join me.
Jay?
Yeah, everyone. Unfair Sports, search for us on YouTube and pull up. Like PG said, we'll be talking a lot of recruits over the next few weeks. I'm going to put together some videos and conversations around the current commits as well as some perspectives as we wait to hear more. And then when National Signing Day comes up, man, it's going to be, wall-to-wall coverage. So pull up. Love to have you. Thanks as usual, Chris.
Yup. JP?
Yeah, appreciate you guys being in here. Chris, appreciate you throwing this together, and obviously appreciate Jawan and PG. No, I'm gonna try to hit PG up, see if we can get together in the next couple of days or so. But now, find me at Indy_Sooner on Twitter, and you can find me at Indy Sooner on YouTube. Make sure you tune into the JP and Trav show every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be chatting about Bedlam and maybe bowl forecast. See what we can get going. I feel bad for the team we're gonna play, to be honest, because if Oklahoma plays with those 15 practices, and if we play the potential that we have, ain't no way we should be playing a team that's like 6-6, 7-5. To be honest with you, so I'm interested to see who we get. But
give us Texas. Let us get Texas again.
I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple scenarios here of who Oklahoma could get. If USC loses both of their next 2 games, that's Notre Dame and the Pac-12 championship game, there is a chance a bowl could try to pick up both Oklahoma and USC, because USC will not be able to qualify for a New Year's Six bowl because they won't have won their Pac-12 unless, just a New Year's Six bowl wants to try to pick them up. So USC could be an option. South Carolina, I'd love to watch that. Spencer Rattler and Stogner and Shane Beamer against Oklahoma. And then, hey, you know what? I'll take any of the Big Ten teams. I'll take any of them. Ohio State, Michigan, I'll take them. So, but I don't know if you guys saw this non-OU news. Mark Stoops got a big pay raise, increased buyout with Kentucky. So
good for him.
That's good for him. Well,
lose to Georgia and you get a big buyout. Look at that.
Well, y'all, with that being said, this is the Horns Down podcast. Horns Down always. Hey, y'all already know we could get Texas. I would love to get Texas again and, see what we could do with our actual quarterback. But with that being said, guys, we are out of here. Here is the spinning wheel of death.